Hey everybody, Plushie here, and today we got yet another Evocation Festival event, and this one was actually announced before the Guda Guda rerun because they did say in a follow-up Evocation event after the rerun ends they will be including Ranmaru. So of course one of the three welfares we got this time is Ranmaru, and the other two is Rider Liz or Cinderella Liz, as well as 9 Tattooed Dragon Elizabeth or Pretender Liz. So with this evocation, we basically have most of our welfares accessible in the shop now. The only older welfare that we still don't have is Ruler Da Vinci, who did get a rerun last year, and all the other ones missing are very new ones that are like less than 2 years old. So this is a very good trend. I hope to see basically all welfares being accessible to the evocation shop soon, and maybe even in the future if they're just gonna add a welfare, they should just immediately put them in the shop maybe. So first of all, let's take a look at Ranmaru X, and I'm very disappointed that she didn't get a buff because she definitely needs one, especially with some of the other servants that released after her or got a buff after her. So taking a look at her skill set, it is very dull. Her first skill is a targetable 5000% star absorb up only for a turn, as well as a targetable 50% crit up for a turn, and a debuff cleanse on a 4-turn cooldown. So the cooldown is pretty short, that's why the duration is only 1 turn. So technically you can use it as a semi-support, but most of the times you're gonna be using it on herself as a crit boost effect, which again I would have definitely preferred if it was a 3-turn duration skill with a longer cooldown. So this is not awfully exciting, unfortunately. The second skill, again, 40% chance to charm all enemies for 1 turn, horrible in my opinion, and reduces all enemies defense by 20% for 3 turns and a 10 star bomb. Technically you can combo it with the first skill, but it's a 6-turn cooldown skill. Again, this is why I hope the first skill had a higher duration but longer cooldown. Make it slightly match up better with this, but overall not an exciting skill at all. Her third skill is another 10 star bomb, so technically you can use one for the first time of the skill 1 and the other one for the second proc of the skill 1, and no, that is just bad, right? And she also has a 30% arts up and a 20 MP battery on a 6-turn cooldown. So the skill set is really lame in today's standards, and her passives are kind of interesting, I guess. She has, most importantly, at least in my opinion, existence outside the domain, so she can combo with Van Gogh, and she does have 2 buster cards, so that is at least a bit of saving grace, but she definitely isn't the best existence outside the domain DPS in the game, not even close. And finally, her MP is an Arts AoE MP that has 4 hits that ignores defense, and it also increases star generation rate for herself for a single turn by 100% to 300% scaling from overcharge. Again, really boring MP. Like, other than the ignore defense, it literally has no effect, I would say. The star gen is not very good, and overall she's gonna be an arts looper 90% of the time. But if you're looking for a budget arts looper, she's definitely not even close to being the best option. If you take a look at the damage and the refund here, we're comparing her mainly to EO, because EO is another welfare that has a quote-unquote universal class that's also an AoE arts looper. EO has a better battery, which is 30 MP battery, and EO also has better damage because she has MP damage up ramp up, and it combos especially well with Oberon. And if you take a look at the damage difference and refund difference here, you would always take EO 9% of the time, at least if you are facing off against just a neutral class. And EO's not even considered a very good arts looper nowadays. And even worse, Salieri recently got an MP upgrade as well, and Salieri, yes, his damage is still slightly worse than Ranmaru because of his stats, but his refunds is a lot better. So technically with Salieri, you can run a frontline only refund comp for like easier nodes with no starting charge CE, while with Ranmaru, because her refund is significantly worse, you would always have to use your plug suit. So yeah, I would say in the convenience department, Salieri would be a better option, and in the, peak, I guess, ceiling performance department, EO would be better. So yeah, Ranmaru is just The second welfare we got during this event is 9 Tattoo Dragon Elizabeth. She's an AoE buster pretender that is mostly considered to be a multi-core farmer. So her first skill is a charisma, as well as an assortment of buffs that gives different alignment allies different buffs. So it would give lawful alignment allies 20% crit up for 3 turns, neutral alignment allies 20% MP damage up for 3 turns, and chaotic alignment allies 20% MP gain up for 3 turns. And it would also grant the party the Mount Liang trait, except for herself, for 3 turns, which she herself already has the Mount Liang trait, so doesn't really need it. And it also increases her own star absorb by 500% for a single turn. So this is a lot of effects. It's mainly used as a charisma plus, but also the Mount Liang is important because her second skill charges 20% MP to all Mount Liang allies, as well as increases all Mount Liang allies HP by 2000, and it also has a 500% chance to reduce the debuff resistance of Mount Liang allies by 20% for 3 turns as a demerit on a 6-turn cooldown. The demerit really doesn't matter because it's going to be used as farming most of the time, and the Mount Liang MP is the main reason why she's considered a multi-core farmer, because she's a party 20 MP charger with a party-wide buff. Now the third skill is a self quick and buster 30% double buff for 3 turns, and a self crit up for 30% as well for 3 turns on a 6-turn cooldown. So this is just a self crit skill. It kind of synergizes with the star absorb up from skill 1, but her main DPSing is not very impressive, unfortunately. So her best partners in multi-core farming are going to be neutral alignment servants, because then they get another 20% MP damage up, and 20% attack and MP damage up for the party is honestly a very nice amount of buffs. Sometimes you can also use the chaotic alignment MP gain up, but in multi-core I'd say more so you're focused on damage instead of refund. And 20% charge party-wide is not very good, I'd say, because number one, she can't really get her own MP very easily, but with a 50 starting charge event bonus CE, that changes, I'd say. But in most cases, she would need another partner that has a decent amount of party charge, such as maybe Phantasmoon, who also, matches her in class, so they can both farm knights together, for example. And our MP is an AoE buster MP that has a whopping 9 hits that reduces enemies' defense by 10% for 3 turns after damage, unfortunately, and it also increases her own MP damage up and star generation for 1 turn before damage, and the star generation paired with a 9 hit MP is pretty nice. The star gen scales from 50 to 150%, and the MP damage up scales from 10 to 30%, which is not very good, unfortunately. So again, this is mostly going to be a budget multi-core farmer, but the 20 charge is not very good, and also she needs to kind of be paired with neutral alignment specifically to feel worth it. If you really need a pretender to deal with alter ego bosses, she can be an okay choice, but I'd say in most cases, you just use her to farm, which I still think she is slightly better than Ranmaru, just because she has multi-core farming potential, and her main DPS I do find to be a little bit better than Ranmaru in a vacuum. But yeah, not very impressive. I maybe buy if you really want a multi-core farmer. And finally, the big one, Rider Liz. Of course, this servant is probably the most looked forward to, because she, in my opinion, is the best overall welfare single target rider. And that's saying a lot, because the other two is Rider Kintoki and Ryoma, who got an MP upgrade, which now is also very decent. But Rider Liz definitely has the most in her kit, and she is a single target buster rider. Her first skill is a 3x 3-turn invul, as well as a 3-turn 30% MP generation up, and a small demerit of a self-poison by 500 damage for 3 turns. And this skill only has a 5-turn cooldown, which is ridiculous. Usually these kind of skills at least have a 6-turn cooldown, so this is like PFA but better, but has a 5-turn cooldown. I know this invul has a duration, but most of the time you would use up 3 hits in 3 turns. Her second skill is a 30% buster up as well as a 50% anti-wild beast power mod, both for 3 turns, and a small demerit of a self defense down by 10% for 3 turns, again on a 5-turn cooldown. This obviously is not as good as the first skill, but at least it gives her a anti-trait. It's not a very good one, but against certain bosses it can be very useful, such as Kamazot's, and it gives herself a buster up, which of course helps her damage. And finally, her third skill is a 30 star bomb and a 30 MP battery, and has a demerit of a self skill seal for a single turn, and it only has a 4-turn cooldown. So her cooldowns are extremely short, especially after append 5. The cooldown for the first cycle becomes 443, which is ridiculous. Like a 30 star bomb and a 30 MP battery on a 4-turn cooldown is really dumb. Now obviously the big drawback is the skill seal. This is probably what they balanced her entire cooldown around, because they're thinking, oh, you know, the skill seal would delay her cooldown by a turn, so technically her cooldowns are more like 665, but there's so many ways to get rid of the skill seal with any debuff cleanse command code, and also there's even a command code that can prevent it from happening in the first place. And even if you don't have any of those, her MP removes all of her own debuffs. So yeah, basically you don't have to care about the skill seal. You can get rid of it very easily, and suddenly she just becomes a very broken DPS with insanely powerful skills with like way too short of cooldowns. And speaking of her MP, it's a single target 4-hit buster MP that self cleanses every debuff before the MP actually does damage, which is not just useful for cleansing her own self-inflicted debuffs, but it's also good for cleansing debuffs in general. So any boss that would give you like MP damage down, buster down, attack down, she doesn't really care about it because she would just cleanse all of it before the MP actually does damage. And the overcharge effect of the MP increases all Fairy Tail Servants attack by 20% to 40% for 3 turns before her MP does damage, and this of course includes herself as well, so this is also a ramp up MP. And even though she's buster, her MP is pretty spammable in a boss fight, because again she has a 30 MP battery and a 30 star bomb on a 4-turn cooldown, and her first skill has a 30% MP gain boost for 3 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. And her base gain isn't even that bad. Her base gain is 0.87% per hit on 2 2-hit arts card and 1 4-hit quick card. So she's gonna be getting her MP quite often. So in a boss fight, she's just gonna keep cleansing her own debuffs and keep ramping up her own attack. And overall, just a wonderful DPS to have. I would say one of the best welfare DPSs, period, and also one of the best single target riders, period, which is very impressive because in my opinion, single target riders are a very competitive bunch in terms of gameplay, and to be a welfare servant that hasn't received the buff and is a couple years old already and still be this competitive is super impressive. And she can also do a little bit of farming. I do use her as a finisher in certain farming nodes, or a raid DPS against casters, because she is a buster servant, which pairs well with Oberon, and she also has a 30 MP battery, which is kind of like the baseline level for this kind of stuff. Technically, she can also help Fairy Tail Servants with her MP, but that's not going to be a very common occurrence because Fairy Tail Servants is a very niche group of servants. But there are a couple of highlights in terms of farming. I would say in terms of multi-core, very good options like Kintoki, Super Bunyan, and Normal Bunyan, and even Voyager are very good. Now, usually you don't pair single targets with other single targets, so mostly it's just going to be Normal Bunyan and Voyager. But yeah, normally she's just going to be a buster beatstick in farming and raiding. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to get this, as short as possible, and give you just a very quick overview of these welfares. In summary, I would say Ranmaru is not worth buying. Pretender Liz really depends on your roster. You might want to buy if you really lack a multi-core farmer or a party buffer, but otherwise no. And Rider Liz is almost a must buy unless you have like a hyper Aussie, then you would never use her, I'd say. And since the construction site outside of my house don't want to shut the fuck up, I guess this is the end of the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.